Alright, so Realme has finally released its latest number series smartphones targeted towards mobile gamers with a slew of hardware and software features that, as per my experience, provide a pretty decent gaming experience. They just released the Realme 13 5G, which is what we have here, and the Realme 13 Plus 5G. Now, like I said before, my goal on this channel is to focus more on the camera side of things as I continue to enjoy photography and content creation in general. So we'll talk about that first, about the Realme 13 5G and see how capable it is for mobile photography. But rest assured that we also tackle pretty much everything you need to know about the smartphone. So let's get into it. As always, honest disclaimer, this video is not paid, but Realme did send an early sample for me to experience. They will not see this video prior to release. Okay, so let's get the price off the table first so that you can get a better grasp about the overall value of this phone in relation to its specifications and performance. The Realme 13 5G retails for 16,999 Philippine pesos, while the Realme 13 Plus 5G retails for 3,000 more at 19,999 Philippine pesos. The notable difference between the two are the display, processor, and charging speed. Now, the Realme 13 5G has this circular camera module at the top center that at first glance, you might think that it has 3 cameras, but in fact, it only has one actual usable 50-megapixel OIS main camera and a 2-megapixel mono lens. The 50-megapixel camera, like I said, has optical image stabilization and uses Samsung's S5K JNS sensor. And in front, we have a 16-megapixel selfie camera. Now, let's take a look at some sample photos. The 26mm main camera offers a pretty fast aperture of f1.8, which means it can take a lot of light, allowing for lower ISO levels and faster shutter speed, resulting to clean and sharp looking images, especially on pretty well lit environments like this. As you can tell, the images looks nice, detailed, and have a pretty good dynamic range as well. No blown highlights or crush shadows as expected from any modern smartphones because of pretty decent image parsing algorithm. What you should pay attention though when it comes to smartphone cameras is the amount of digital sharpening, and in this case, using the 26mm main camera, it's very natural, I would say. However, once you start using the x2 52mm camera, which is essentially an in-sensor zoom from that 50-megapixel OIS main camera, you'll start to notice some digital sharpness. And to make sure that it is indeed digital, I tried manually cropping the same image taken using the 26mm main camera, and as you can tell, the one taken using the x2 52mm has some digital sharpening applied to compensate for the in-sensor zoom. I'm actually not totally 100% sure about this, to be perfectly honest with you, but that is just how I understand it. Regardless, without being too technical and critical, just use the main camera whenever possible and you're pretty much golden. The main camera produces decent image quality photos with very natural details, sharpness, and colors. Don't get me wrong, the x2 52mm mode is still perfectly usable in situations that you really need a zoom-in image in a pinch and doesn't have the time to edit and crop it manually in post. It's just that the main 1x 26mm mode is better. I just want to point that out. And since this phone is not primarily targeted towards mobile photography, this is somehow understandable since they focus more on its gaming performance and capabilities, which this phone certainly does a good job. Now, the 16-megapixel selfie camera is usable, but nothing to write home about. It features an f4.5 aperture, so most of its bokeh or background separation will be done digitally, and it's quite apparent on these sample photos. Notice that edge detection is not quite accurate, but again, like I said, mobile photography is not the main selling point of this smartphone. I'm just particularly interested with testing it. Anyways, low light images are fairly decent, I would say, especially with the main camera. I mean, at f1.8, it's a no surprise. ISO levels are within the 1000 range, but you just have to be careful with the stability of your hand since the shutter speed is noticeably slow at 1/14 of a second or so. Overall, like I said, if you stick with the 1x 26mm main camera, you're guaranteed to get some decent photos with the Realme 13 5G. Alright, so with that out of the way, let's go ahead and check out everything this new smartphone has to offer. Design-wise, I like what Realme has done here. We have a sort of lightning-like texture here that makes it relatively fingerprint resistant. We also have here the massive circular camera module that we've already tackled about. And then on the right side, we have the power button that also doubles as a fingerprint reader and the volume rocker. The fingerprint reader is fast, accurate, and properly placed. By the way, this phone is also relatively slim at around 7.79mm and weighs only around 193.6 grams. It is also IP64 dust and water resistant. Up top, we have the secondary microphone, the secondary speaker, and the SIM card tray that supports dual nano SIM cards. And then at the bottom, we have the primary speaker, the USB Type-C port, the primary microphone, and surprisingly, we also have a 3.5mm headphone jack. In front, aside from the mentioned selfie camera, we have a 6.72-inch Full HD Plus IPS LCD display with up to 120Hz refresh rate. The display is decent with peak brightness up to 690 nits, and what I like about this, which helps with battery life as well, is the fact that it has 6 levels of dynamic refresh rate, which means it will automatically switch refresh rate depending on the use case scenario, from 45Hz during standby, 40 to 50Hz during video playback, 60Hz during reading, 90Hz for social media applications, and 120Hz for browsing the user interface and for games that supports it. Image quality-wise is more than enough for casual social media browsing and for media consumption, especially when indoors. And as I alluded to earlier, it has stereo speakers which sounds decent enough and can get loud up to 200%, enough to fill a small room. Now in terms of the user interface, we have realme UI 5.0 based on Android 14. It has a good amount of pre-installed applications that of course you can uninstall, and for the most part, is relatively lightweight and smooth, and as I pointed out earlier, with 120Hz refresh rate, browsing through the user interface is pretty snappy. Though once you open other applications that still doesn't support 120Hz, you'll have to settle with 60Hz like on Facebook for example. Now powered by a MediaTek Dimensity 6300 processor with the Mali G57 MC2 GPU and 12GB of RAM that you can actually extend up to 26GB, taking advantage of some free space from its 256GB internal storage, the Realme 13 5G is a decent performer. It features low latency with dual 5G standby connectivity and supports stable high frame rates of up to 90 FPS depending on the game. And what I like about Realme series phones is that even though they are not technically gaming phones, they offer a slew of gaming features including the GT mode and AI boost, not to mention a nifty system stats overlay. In addition, the Realme 13 5G features a decent 5000 mAh battery with 45W Super VOOC charge support that can charge the device up to 100% in just 18 minutes. In my testing using the PCMark Work 3.0 battery life benchmark with 50% brightness and volume, it lasted up to 17 hours and 10 minutes, which is quite outstanding. Now to support all these performance capabilities, it also features a vapor chamber cooling system that can maintain a temperature well below 40 degrees Celsius, which I can attest to based on my gaming experience with this phone. But before we talk about its gaming capabilities, here are all the benchmarks that I ran on the Realme 13 5G so that you can have some tangible data that you can compare with your current smartphone should you choose to upgrade. Now in terms of gaming, let me just say right off the bat that thermal performance is something you need not worry about this smartphone. I can confirm that it can maintain temperature well below 40 degrees both internally and externally. It also performed pretty decent across all the games that I've tested with a solid 58 to 60 FPS except of course for Genshin Impact, which is a graphics intensive game. But for games like Real Racing 3, Call of Duty Mobile, Honor of Kings and Mobile Legends, the Realme 13 5G was able to handle them all pretty well at their supported maximum graphics and refresh rate settings. Though I have to say that none of them supported above 60 FPS for the Realme 13 5G just yet, but at least we get a pretty stable performance at a decent 60 FPS. What I appreciate from Realme though, and as I've mentioned earlier, even though this is not a GT series phone, they still added the GT mode here, which boosts the performance for both gaming and non-gaming applications. Now, if you want to learn more about the gaming capabilities of the Realme 13 5G, I actually released a dedicated gaming review article on our website, which you can check out using the link in the description. Overall, to conclude, if you're looking for a decent mid-range performer, specifically for esports mobile gaming, the Realme 13 5G is a pretty compelling option. It features a capable and efficient Dimensity 6300 processor, expandable RAM for multitasking, and an outstanding battery for extended mobile gaming sessions. And there you have it guys, thank you for watching. Huge thanks to Realme for sending this in. Again, although they sent another sample, they don't have any say on this review, and they'll see this at the same time as you do. If you're interested in getting this phone, please consider using my affiliate link below to help me sustain this channel. And if your timing is right, you might get some freebies, including a Realme Buds T110 worth 1,399 Philippine pesos, and other amazing prices during their promotional period. Again, I'll put some links below for you to check out. Thank you for watching, subscribe if you appreciate this video, and see you next time. Have a great day guys, you're awesome.